All right, welcome to my CodeSignal Arcade review of the intro section. And I just finished recording all the problems using Python in my channel, so you guys can check those out if you want. But after solving those questions and then revisiting them, this is my honest take, right? Like, would I even recommend this platform, or would I do it if I was starting on and stuff like that, right? So, but yeah, let's just get into it. So, would I recommend this platform to like a complete beginner, right? So if you don't know any coding, obviously not, right? This platform doesn't teach you anything about coding at all. So this just has a bunch of problems and then you have to solve it. But if you don't know how to solve it, you just can't, right? So obviously you need some sort of like introduction to programming languages and then how to use them, blah blah blah, right? So you have to know about that. But let's say you're just kind of like a beginner level at like preparing for interviews, maybe like solving these kinds of questions, right? Would I recommend that, right? Then I think it's kind of yes, but not really. So with this big asterisk in front, I guess in the back, and then I'll explain that asterisk as well. But before diving into that, let's just talk about the disadvantages and advantages of CodeSignal, right? So let's just start with disadvantages. So the first disadvantage is that you just cannot skip through problems, right? So in order to solve these 60 problems, you have to go from the beginning, like you solve it one by one, unless I guess you pay some sort of like that. I mean, I'm not sure if paying it allows you to skip, but I'm not really sure. I mean, I think you can unlock problems using coins or whatever, but I haven't really approached that solution yet. But if you're like a free user that is doing that is beginning to solve from the start, then definitely you have to solve it one by one in order to solve every problem. So that's kind of sucks. And also, you cannot see any like solutions and stuff like that, right? But in LeetCode, where you can just see, I guess that's the disadvantage number two, right? So you cannot see any of the solutions in here directly. I think after you submit them like correctly, then I think you can see the submissions and solutions, but I'm not really sure. I think that's the case. But because like I haven't seen other people's solutions, so I can't tell. Maybe that's the case. Um, yeah, that's it. I think. Cool. All right. So that's I guess like the disadvantage number two. So if you don't know how to solve it, then you have to look up online, or maybe like there's a YouTube video. I mean, you can check out my videos, right? So in order to how to solve it. So that's like one of the disadvantages. And then the second, I guess the third disadvantage is that the problems, they jump up and down in terms of difficulties. So let's just go to the first problem, right? So this is just literally like adding two parameters and then returning it. That's as simple as that, right? That this is like the simplest problem there is. So which is pretty easy. And then once you go to the next problem, right? Let's go to the next problem. It becomes slightly difficult, right? So this is like converting year into like century, which is I guess there's like an if statement involved, which is not that difficult, but it is kind of difficult, I guess, if you are just learning coding, right? But I mean, let's just give it a pass and say this is a really easy problem, right? Anyone can do it. But if you go to the third problem, it jumps up in difficulty a lot because you have to know about like 2 pointers in order to solve this optimally, and then you have to know how to reverse a string if you don't want to do it optimally, blah blah blah, right? So difficulty just jumps up and down like really really well. But this is not even the first bad example, right? The worst example comes in here, I think. Where is it? Just no, it's almost increasing severity. Okay, I think this one is also quite difficult actually. Like this is how many problems is that? Almost seventh problem, right? Seventh problem, and then the solution is like this, which is kind of nuts for me at least. And this is even not the worst culprit, right? So if you go to like, where was it? Oh yeah, here, reverse in parentheses. Yeah, this one. So this is the 13th problem, and then the solution is like using stack, and then this requires a really like a big brain problem, right? I mean, it requires you to have knowledge of like recursion, stack, and blah blah blah, like to solve it. It's quite difficult if you're a beginner. I don't think there's just no question that the beginner can solve this problem without any help, right? So yeah, and then my point is basically is like some problems are very very easy, some problems are quite difficult for beginners, and then some problems are even like LeetCode hard level, right? So that is just kind of like kind of bad, like if you're trying to solve it from the beginning, right? And then if you're stuck on a problem, then you just can't proceed and then can't see the future problems, right? So you're just stuck there, and then there's just no way out of it. I mean, if you can skip problems, then I guess that's kind of okay, but even still, you cannot skip problems, so that just makes it even worse. I guess, and then the fourth problem is that the problems are not, grouped by any topics or data structures or algorithms, right? So it's just kind of like random problems, and that's it. So like as you can see, the this problem that I just showed was like kind of using stack, right? But now this one is using like sorting, right? And then it's just all the problems are like random. Like it goes to list 2D and then hash map into like array and then to string, blah blah blah. Like it just goes on randomly. It would have been much better to just group it by common topics and then just move on, right? So it would have been much better. So, and then also I think even if you go to the problem, you don't necessarily know like which topic, which data structures this one's going to be used. There's no tag, right? So in LeetCode, you can at least see the tags and say, oh, okay, I guess you can solve this using hash map or array or whatever, right? So there's just nothing like that. So that's like disadvantage number 4. So keep that all in mind, right? So those are kind of like the bad things about CodeSignal Arcade. Okay, let's move on to the good things, right? So the good thing is that the user interface is really nice. It has some beautiful pictures and beautiful interactions. And then the nice thing about CodeSignal is that the UI, like the coding UI, especially this code editor, is like really nice. It is like using Visual Studio Code, I believe, in the inside. So you can see like the mini map in here, right? So there's like autocomplete in here too. Like if you do like this, then it shows autocomplete feature. So which is quite nice. I think this editor is actually better than LeetCode's code editor. So I would highly recommend, this having this code editor, which is good, right? In terms of like doing tests and afterwards and stuff, it's it's okay. It could be better than it could have been like LeetCode, and then it could be really condensed, I guess. But in here you have to navigate through tabs in order to see console output, error output, return value, right? It just organized through tabs. But in LeetCode, I think you can see everything in one view, right? So I'm not really like a big fan of this, but I think LeetCode is much better. But who knows? Like it doesn't really matter, right? But the most important thing is probably the code editor, so I like that. And then the description side, I think the LeetCode is much better in here, but there are some problems that has really good description. There are some problems that has really bad description. So it's like up and down. And I guess there's also one cool feature that LeetCode doesn't have is like showing the dislike count, right? So in CodeSignal you can actually see the dislike count, but in LeetCode you used to, but now you can't, right? I'm not sure if you can actually see what's behind, or maybe it's just hidden. I'm not sure, but in here you can just see it. So that's cool. I guess that's the only. I guess in terms of your user experience, those are like the positives. And then also another positive is that there are some like really easy problems in here. Like it will encourage like new beginner coders a lot, right? If you have like easy problems. When I used to do LeetCode back in like 4 or 5 years ago, LeetCode was a platform that had basically no very easy problems, right? Even the easy tagged questions were like really difficult to solve especially for beginners. So but in here there's like really easy problems. So when I used CodeSignal for the first time, I was like, oh yeah, this is really easy. I like this because I get to solve the problem and then I get enjoyment out of that, right? But from LeetCode, I just can't do that because the very easy problems were not so easy, right? But I think LeetCode recently they added easy problems. So for example, like this problem, I think it exists on LeetCode already. So that way it's kind of like advantageous over LeetCode, but I guess LeetCode is catching up to adding these easy problems. Okay, I think that's all the advantages that I can think of. Okay, so I talked about the asterisk, right? So like if you are a beginner coder, right, how would you approach this platform? I think the most important thing is to know like which problem is the hard one, which problem is the easy one, which problem is the like medium one, right? So I think my videos would definitely help that a lot. So I think on the beginning of every problem, if it's like a medium or hard problem, I specifically say, okay, this is like a really easy or really not easy. This is like a really medium problem. This is a hard problem or stuff like that. So you can actually see that based on the timestamps, I guess. So if the problem is like 1 or 2 minutes long, then it's just pretty easy problem, right? But if it's taking like 10 or 20 minutes long, then it's probably like a medium. And if it's taking more than 20 minutes, it's probably like a hard problem, right? So you can just check those timestamps, say, yeah, okay, yeah, these problems are hard problems. So I have to know like these types of data structures to solve it. And then probably what I would suggest is just copy the solution that I did on the videos and then just move on, right? If you can't solve, if you don't know the data structure, it's not worth it just for this problem, right? So you have to start from the beginning to know that algorithm. So for example, like if you encounter this problem, right, 13, if you don't know about stacks, then I would just suggest that copying the solution and just move on and then solve the easy problems and then go back to this problem again once you learn about stacks, right? So I think that's just going to be the easiest way to do it. So I would highly recommend that approach. And I think if you do that approach, I think it's fine to solve the code signal. I think it's good. Just don't get stuck on the problem more than like 20 minutes or so, right? Then just, go to the solutions and then copy the solutions and then we'll move on to the next problems. That's what I would suggest. Okay, so those would be like hints for like beginner people, right? But if you can already solve like LeetCode easy and medium like under like 20 minutes, I don't think this is going to be much of a challenge for you. So because you can just basically solve every question in here without any help. So if you are already like LeetCode proficient, this is just going to be like extra practice for you. I don't think it's even going to be needed because LeetCode has so many questions. If you solved every easy, every medium on LeetCode, then I don't think this is going to help that much. I guess you can just cruise through these and then get some reward out of it internally, but I don't think it's worth it, worth the time. But maybe it's gonna be like a bragging rights or something. But some of the problems already exist in LeetCode. For example, like this problem, right? Valid Sudoku. I think some variation already exists. And then I'm not sure about other numbers. I mean, other problems. Probably some of them exist in LeetCode already. So, yeah, stuff like that. Cool. So those are my review. So basically, like in conclusion, if you are a beginner, then I would highly suggest watching like my videos alongside of your coding. And then if you get stuck on the problem, then just copy the solution and move on and go back to it when you have the knowledge of solving the problem, right? So I think that's going to be really helpful. You don't even have to copy my solution. Just Google like the code signal and then title, right? I think then all the solutions would appear. I think there's a lot of other videos as well of doing it. There's probably a lot of like Stack Overflow or maybe Reddit posts about these problems as well. So you could just copy those solutions and move on. You just have like a reference guide whenever you're trying to go through as a beginner, right? But if you already know about like LeetCode easy and LeetCode mediums, then you just basically cruise through these if you want. But if you think it's a waste of time, then just don't do it. This is like not necessary to pass the interview, right? So this is just going to be additional practice. I mean, is it a good practice for those people? I think so. I think it's a good practice, but not required, I would say. So that is my honest review. So that's about it. I don't think I'll be doing these stuff, but we'll see. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think I'll be doing it, but at least for the first 60 problems, that's the take that I had. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. Maybe let me know if you want me to solve the core section as well, but we'll see. I'm not sure if I will do it, but who knows about the future. So see you. Bye-bye.